But this hour, a campaign that has outraged dairy farmers in New Brunswick is coming to Halifax. The Vegan Education Group is behind billboards in Moncton and advertising on buses in Frederiction for its Dairy is Scary campaign, an effort to convince people to give up dairy products. Joining me on the phone right now is Mr. Bill Wilson. He's with the Vegan Education Group Association out of Halifax. Good morning, Bill.
Hi, good morning, Rick.
How are you this morning?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. And alongside Bill this morning as well is the creator of a YouTube in 2015 that began this whole Dairy is Scary campaign. Her name is Erin Janus, and she joins us on the phone as well here this morning. Erin, good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
Good. Where are you, by the way, Erin?
I'm located in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Okay. All right. You're only an hour behind us here. So, Erin, you started this thing with a 2015 video, basically, that's begun this whole Dairy is Scary campaign. What was the point of your video?
The point of my video was to raise awareness on standard practices that occur in the dairy industry. Cows are the mammals that have been chosen to be selectively bred and used for their milk production. But the reason I made the video was to talk about how every mammal in the world produces milk, not because it's something we have to drink, but because they're mothers. And milk production, lactation, is a hormonal response to pregnancy and birth. It's also a response to the demand of milk being taken from machines, mechanical machines. And so a lot of the standard practices dairy cows endure in the industry do fall under what we know as cruelty and exploitation, and there's suffering involved in dairy. What we're led to believe when we see milk on the shelves or commercials is that dairy cows are happy to give milk to us, but that's not the case. Just like apples grow on trees, the case is not the same for cows giving milk. They only give milk when they're pregnant or have a baby to feed. So there's several things involved that are problematic and unethical, and that's what I want to raise awareness about, and that's what the Vegan Education Group, we're working together to raise awareness about this.
But are dairy farmers abusing their animals? I mean, is it actual animal abuse?
Well, sometimes there is, and, you know, like, it depends what you qualify as abuse. So not too long after my video was published, Canada's largest dairy farm pled guilty to 3 counts of causing an animal to continue to be in distress. It was failing to prevent deeply disturbing, very callous abuse of cattle, which the judge ruled in British Columbia. So yes, sometimes dairy cows are directly abused, but other times there's some farms that are run by families, beautiful families, and they've got beautiful properties, and sometimes there's only 40 cows on the farm. But even there, and even in those cases, no matter how nice the farm is, these animals are still subject to exploitation that has physical consequences, emotional consequences, as cows are emotional beings, and there's several studies on this, and they all are ultimately sent to auction or slaughter when the farmers are done using them. This is something that is rarely ever talked about, and activists every week all around the world now are going outside of slaughterhouses and witnessing lactating dairy cows in transport trucks trembling outside of the slaughterhouse. And it's the dairy farmers who sent them there.
Bill Wilson, let me get you into this conversation. You're with the Vegan Education Group Association based here in Halifax, and your campaign, Bill, in New Brunswick has, to be blunt, pissed off a lot of dairy farmers. I expect you get the same kind of reaction here in Halifax when you begin the campaign here. Bill?
Well, we've received a lot of support. There are some people that are upset, and there's people who are looking to have discussions, which is great, and that's what we're looking for.
But we're told that drinking milk is healthy for us. So why are you suggesting that it's time to get off dairy?
Well, Erin covered a lot of that. We don't need dairy. Dairy is produced for baby calves, for the same reason that all mammals produce milk for their babies. We don't need it. There are lots of alternatives now if you want to have a similar experience. Lots of plant milk alternatives.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Erin.
Well, I also just want to add, the list is almost endless, but some key points that are often ignored and undiscussed. Another reason is because dairy cows have been selectively bred now to produce up to 12 times more milk than natural for them. You know, even if dairy cows were only being exploited to the bare minimum, there are still problems there ethically, but just to make matters worse, this is not just like an iffy situation. The dairy industry is inherently exploitive and abusive to cows, inherently, for so many reasons that we don't have enough time to list it on this talk show, but I'm happy to talk about it whenever. We want people to give up dairy because drinking dairy causes direct suffering to animals.
Go ahead, Bill.
I've been on a Nova Scotia dairy farm talking to a dairy farmer, and they said, yes, we send our male calves to the stockyards in Truro, and they'll end up on veal farms in Quebec. In 2014, there was an undercover investigation done by W5 that exposed what the veal industry is like. It's horrible. Erin could explain that. It's in her video. And also, if they don't go to the veal industry, they're useless and typically killed. This is unnecessary.
So tell me about the campaign that's coming here to Halifax. And again, I mentioned there's billboards in Moncton and St. John, bus advertising in Fredericton. Are you doing the same thing here in Halifax?
That's right. We have boards in Moncton, St. John. We have bus ads in Fredericton, and the first billboard will go up next week in Halifax, followed by another the following week.
And again, I anticipate that the reaction, might not be everything if you're looking for a lot of support, Bill, and Erin, I'm not sure that you'll get that here. Are you prepared for that?
I want people to think of, if it wasn't cows, say if we were doing this to golden retrievers, right? If they were the ones getting their throats slashed. If we were taking males and selling them for veal. We very much can use
golden retrievers for milk. We could do that if we wanted to. Any female mammal produces milk, so it's a great point. Yeah.
Cows can live up to 20 years. They're typically killed after 4 or 5 because they're spent. They can't produce enough milk for us to make profit off them. So we kill them early.
Well, again, sorry, Erin, go ahead.
And so to answer your question, we are prepared for people to be upset and confused because we're coming up against an industry that has been, almost protected with an angelic reputation. And this is solely through marketing, not through facts and truth, and not through information about, the species of animal that's being used. So we're prepared for this, but this is what needs to happen because it's unjust and it's unethical what is happening to these gentle, maternal, emotional, social mammals simply for what their bodies produce. They are used up until they can't be used anymore, and then they are killed. It's the epitome of exploitation and ultimate disregard and disrespect. Farmers often reach out to me and tell me that they don't want to do this anymore, but they don't know how to stop because it's what their dad did and what their dad did and what their dad did. So here's what we really want to reiterate. We are not against farmers. We are not trying to harm the dairy farmers. In fact, we'd be happy to help them if they have questions. We would support them if they would switch to plant-based agriculture rather than animal-based agriculture, because unlike animals, plants don't suffer and miss their mothers. Plants don't bleed. Plants aren't trembling in freezing cold temperatures in transport in Canadian winters on the way to the slaughterhouse. If farmers would switch to plant-based agriculture and taxpayers would understand that they are currently subsidizing dairy farmers, and instead we need to lobby that, hey, let's support with our taxes plant-based agriculture rather than animal-based agriculture. We can all work together to create a better world for animals.
All right.
Elmhurst Dairy
Just talk about that a little further about the subsidization. A lot of dairy farmers will say, hey, we're not subsidized. We're supply management. We got a quota system, that sort of thing. But in fact, dairy does receive a lot of money. Just this year, the feds earmarked $3.9 billion for supply management industries, which include dairy, eggs, and poultry. The majority of that will go to dairy to help them. Justification because of new trade laws. Farmers are in the industry, and it might be hard to get out if the government keeps giving them all this money to keep that going. There's a group in Ottawa that started. It's called Nation Rising. They've had their second march and rally this year. Their mission is to end animal agricultural subsidies, including help to, say, for dairy to maintain the status quo, to encourage help for plant-based farming, and most importantly, to help farmers transition out of animal agriculture.
And I'm going to stop you there because I'm out of time here, but we'll watch with interest when the campaign comes to Halifax, and I understand next week the billboards will start going up, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this again. Bill, with the Vegan Education Group Association, appreciate your time here this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, Bill. Take care. And Erin, thank you as well. Erin Janus, the creator of the 2015 YouTube video that began this whole Dairy is Scary campaign. 10:16 is our time right